Hello and welcome to Rain Francis Art. My name is Rain. Today I'm going to show you how to draw this scene with Jack Skellington from A Nightmare Before Christmas. So let's begin. This is what you'll need for today's drawing. You're going to need some drawing paper. I'm using a Strathmore Visual Journal Bristol Smooth drawing pad. It's 9 inches by 12 inches. I just cut the top off so that you could see it. I have my paper here, and I have a stencil that I'm going to leave a PDF version in the description where you can download it and print it if you like. And to transfer my stencil, I have a video that shows you how to do that, and I'll link that below and probably in the cards above as well. As for pencils, I've got all of my graphite pencils. I have HB, 2B, 4B, and I have one that's called Extra Black that's probably the equivalent of a 6B. I have some fine liner pigment markers, and they range from 0.05 millimeters to 0.8 millimeters. And the smaller the millimeter, the smaller the tip, the finer the tip, and the less ink comes out. So it's a lighter kind of when you draw it, it's lighter ink. I have a couple of mechanical erasers, a Tombow Mono, and this one's a Factus BM. The Tombow Mono is, let me pick that off there, it's a very small tipped eraser. It's great for highlighting. And this one is a little wider. It's good for highlighting too, but also just for erasing. As for blending tools, I have a whole basket full. I will probably mostly use this soft foam tip blender. Soft is the brand name, SOFFT. It's a foam blender and it's great for graphite. I also have a blending stump that I will probably use, and in here somewhere I've got some Tortillon blenders. I'm not sure if I'm going to use those, but I'll list everything in the description below that I end up using. I have a piece of wax paper that comes in handy when I put my hand on it, when I'm drawing up here and coloring things in so I don't smudge anything. And somewhere over here I have this dollar store paintbrush that I have not used for painting, and it's great for brushing off my page, getting the dust off my page and things like that. I think that's all I need here. Like I said, I'll leave description of what I'm using in the box below. So why don't we begin? I've basically drawn out a very quick sketch of Jack Skellington holding a pumpkin. So I'm going to take my 0.8 marker and I'm going to outline that whole thing. And I hope that you'll be able to see this okay. I've got my very bright lights on today, so it's hard for me to see. I have a lot of glare here, but I'm trying my best. I wish there was a way I didn't have to use bright lights when I was doing my my drawings. Because for me it's very hard to see. Maybe if I put my glasses on. Sorry guys about this. I don't feel like stopping and starting. Let me see if I put my glasses on, it might help. Yes, it does. There we go. So this is a scene, I suppose, a scene that I'm creating from Nightmare Before Christmas. It's a Halloween-ish movie, but it is called The Nightmare Before Christmas, so there are some Christmas things going on in it. It's a Tim Burton movie. I absolutely love Tim Burton. I love his style of art. Jack Skellington is kind of bored and he ends up in Halloween Town and he loves it. And everyone loves him there too. just outlining what I already transferred over here. Sorry, I don't remember if I mentioned it or not, but if you want to know how to transfer your stencil onto your canvas, I have a video telling you how to do that. And I'll link that below, and I'll put it in the cards above if I can figure out how to do that. Oh, I forgot he has little nostrils there. He's very skinny. He is a skeleton, a well-dressed skeleton. He's got a nice pinstripe suit on. All right. So that's outlined. I have little eraser marks there or something. Now I'm going to add some detail. This is just going to be a very, very quick kind of fun little drawing for Halloween. On my blog, rainfrancis.com or rainfrancisart.com, both of them are working right now, I have a weekly art date. It's actually Rain's weekly Thursday art and dinner date, because we post links to blogs that have food and art, or one or the other. And every week I have a prompt, which is optional. And this week it is trick or treat. So I thought, well, why not draw Jack Skellington from Halloween Town? So that's what I'm doing. And I'm doing it in black and white, which is interesting. I'm going to leave a link in the description below where you can find the photo that I found online, because I can't put it up because of copyright purposes, I suppose. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to take my extra black graphite pencil, and I'm just going to kind of color in all the areas that I see on my reference photo that are very black or very dark. And like I said, extra black is probably the equivalent of a 6B. And I'm just keeping an eye on my reference photo here. I always suggest you use a reference photo if you can. All right. For now, that's okay. I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to take my 0.8 marker again, and I'm going to put some marks in Jack Skellington's skeletal fingers. There we go. And he's wearing kind of a pinstripe suit, so I'm going to try to remain as steady as I can for the pinstripes. Oh, I didn't want them to be too thick. This is just for fun anyway, right? We're just having fun today. Right. Are you a fan of Tim Burton? I just love all of his stuff. I think that my favorite Tim Burton movie is Sleepy Hollow. I really, really love that movie. I own it. I've probably watched it at least 20 times. I always watch it around Halloween. I love the characters that were cast in that movie, the old guys, especially Christopher Lee. I'm a huge fan of Christopher Lee. I love all of his movies, his Dracula movies, the Hammer movies. They were so good. And I really like Christina Ricci in this too. But I think my favorite character in Sleepy Hollow is Christopher Walken. He makes a perfect Hessian. He's very scary with those teeth. There's a scene where he pets his horse and you almost love him, but he's such a villain. Okay. There, we've got all his pinstripes in. And now I'm going to, same marker, 0.8, I'm going to fill in his eyes because they are black. I have snoring dogs in the background in case you hear something like that. All right. Now for his mouth, kind of looks like it's sewn up, so I'm going to put those little lines across. What else do we have? I'm looking at the reference photo, but I'm kind of making it up as I go along for some areas. That's the fun part of drawing, you know, you can kind of make it up as you go along. And when you're doing an ink and graphite drawing, you want to have different textures in there, and that's why we do little cross hatching and scribbles and things like that. And we use graphite too for shading, because we want it to look, you know, I can't say realistic in this case because this is a cartoon or an animation, as they say, but we want it to look interesting at least. Just working on the back of his jacket here. It's a little raggedy. The voice of Sally in this movie is Catherine O'Hara. And she's one of my favorite actresses, mainly because she's a Canadian gal and she was part of the Toronto Second City comedy troupe, SCTV. Second City Television had a really funny show on in the late 70s and 80s. And the comedians that came out of that show were just fabulous. John Candy, Eugene Levy, Catherine O'Hara, Andrea Martin, Rick Moranis, Dave Thomas, Joe Flaherty, Martin Short. They were all part of the Canadian Second City group. And Harold Ramis was there too at the beginning, although I don't know that he was Canadian. All right, let's put a few marks on his skeleton fingers here. All right, and a little shading. And I think his shoes are probably black. There we go. He's looking good so far. Okay, so now I'm going to work with some of my other markers. I'm going to take a 0.2. Let's see. Actually, they're written on the top. 0.2. It's a pretty fine liner. And I'm going to fill in just scratching out the skeleton's, not the skeleton, the pumpkin's eyes and the mouth. I didn't mention this, I don't think. I've got a piece of wax paper. Yes, I mentioned it. Okay, I'm using it now. I don't want to get marker all over my hands in case it hasn't dried yet. So I'm just really scratching up and down. There we go. And now I'm going to take an HB. That's a hard black. That's the lightest graphite pencil I have. And I'm just going to fill in the rest of that pumpkin. All right. And I'm going to fill in Jack Skellington's suit. Everywhere that I put the pinstripes. And if you're following along and you use your graphite pencil and it's in a spot where you're like, oh, I didn't want that there, well, that's what erasers are for. That's the great thing about graphite pencils. You can always erase. Can't erase a marker, but you can erase graphite, so not to worry. Okay, that's looking good. I want to put a little bit of shading, so I'm taking my extra black and I'm going to put a little bit of shading on this side of his jacket collar, just here. And also a little bit on his head, because he's got the light of the pumpkin shining on his face there, so his neck is going to be a little dark as well. Maybe a little bit here. And under here. Okay. His shirt's okay. I think we're good. Maybe I'll just put in the graphite here on his jacket, because that's not white. It's just not as dark there. Okay, so we could say, oh yeah, we're done, but I'm not done yet. I want to add some background, but first I'm going to blend a little bit. This is called a soft foam blender. I mentioned that before. And I'm just going to go and blend everything. And I don't mind if it goes outside the pumpkin, because I'm actually going to add some shading in the back. I'm kind of going everywhere like this. And if I want some areas to remain white, what I'll do is I'll just go in with my eraser after. And you don't have to press very hard with these soft foam blenders, because if you do, you could actually tear them. And I've had these for a long time. If you press nice and light, you can have them for a long time. Okay. What I'm going to do is take my Tombow Mono Eraser, and I'm just, for now, so I don't forget, I'm going to erase some areas on his face that I want to remain white. Just giving it a little highlight. I'm going to make sure his hands are nice and white too. I may have to come back later and do this again, but that's all right. Now what I'd like to do is add a little bit of background to it. So I'm going to take my HB pencil, since I'll be sketching on here, And I'm looking at a reference photo. Again, I'll put that in the description below where I saw the reference photo. And I'm just going to draw a little bit of the ground here behind him. Just a little bit like this. And on the side here, I'm going to draw a tree coming up. And that tree's going to be there, and we've got a nice big branch that kind of goes out of the frame here. But I'll put another one here, and that tree's going to go up on the side. And that tree has some very long roots here that kind of go into the ground. All right, and over here we've got a little pumpkin. I am looking at a reference photo, and this is the scene that I'm seeing in front of me. All right, I'll fill in the details after. There are some candles here. All right. And I think that's all I'm going to do for the background. So I'm going to take my 0.8 fine liner. There is actually a cobweb here. So I'm going to try to draw this cobweb with marker. Which I don't know is going to be a good idea or not, because I can't erase it if I make a mistake. Okay, and then just around here. I think it goes kind of like this. That circle was probably a bad idea, but that's okay, I'm going to fix it. And we have, how does that work? Right. I think that's a good enough spider web. So now I can draw the pumpkin around it. That big old stem up there. Nice big Tim Burton stem. Basically everything that I just drew with my pencil, I'm going to draw with my marker. And it doesn't matter if I go outside the lines, because I can always erase it if I want to, or I can just blend it. I'm just changing it around a bit as I go here. So we've got these roots. And I'll put an extra one just here. There we go. Okay, so let me work on the pumpkin a little bit. This part here is a little darker underneath. And there's some dark areas here I'm just going to scratch in. But I'm going to try not to get on the cobweb because I want that to stand out a little bit. So maybe I'll scratch in the whole pumpkin. All right. And these candles, well, I'm just going to put a little texture on them. And the roots, well, let's see. For the tree, I'm going to do the same kind of idea as I did with the pinstripes. I'm just going to follow the lines of the tree and come all the way down to the root. I'm going to do that for the whole tree. Actually, I like what I did there, sort of squiggly lines. Okay, so that's all right. That's highlighted for now. I'm going to take my dark, where is it? My dark extra black. That's the darkest pencil I have, and I'm going to color in that entire pumpkin. Except for the spider web. The stem as well. And as I mentioned before, it doesn't matter if you go outside the lines a little bit, because you can always erase. All right. Same thing with the tree. I'm going to make that the extra black color. If you're using a pencil and you're using it for quite a while, like I am here, there's a lot that I'm coloring in. Always turn your pencil once in a while because you want to make sure that you don't wear it all down on one side. You know, like for now, I would turn the pencil now. I'm just going to hold my page so it doesn't move while I'm doing the corners here. Okay, am I still all right here? Okay. Usually I would pull the pages out, tape them down and do it that way, but when it comes to the ink and graphite, I like to keep them in the pad. Right, I'm going to do the roots as well. I'm going to try not to get his pants darker in those areas because I want it to be slightly different. Now I'm going to take 2B, the 2B color, and I'm basically going to go all across the background because this is a night scene, and it's okay if you know, if you get it into the branches because they're already pretty dark. Just taking my glasses off there. And as you can see, I'm kind of using the side of the pencil right now to do this large area. If you get any in his hands, don't worry about it. We can always erase. So I'm using the side of my pencil, which means I should turn it more often so that it definitely does not wear down on one side. And you don't have to press hard at all. If you want it darker, you can go back like I'm doing right now and apply a second layer. Or you could probably use the 6B or the extra black that I have. I'm going to be careful to try not to get the spider web here. And the candles. Well, the candles themselves, that's okay, but not the flames, which might prove to be hard, so we'll just assume we're going to erase that from the flame. I think it'll be easier to do that than to try to go around it. Same with the hands, we can always erase. Okay, so that is the 2B. And now I'm going to take my 4B and I'm going to do the same thing on the ground. But again, I'm going to try not to get that spider web. If I do, I'll just erase. I'm just filling in the entire ground with 4B, turning my pencil once in a while. 4B is a little darker than 2B. The higher the number, the darker the graphite, and the softer the pencil. That applies for charcoal as well. I'm just going to go and do a second layer of the 4B. Turning my pencil. And I'm going to take my 6B again, or my extra black, and I'm going to go over that tree a second time with the side of my pencil, just to fill in any gaps, because I want that tree to be darker than the rest of the scene. I'm going to blend all this in so it's going to look a little more soft and smooth. Okay, so let's take our soft foam blender and go over the entire area. And again, I'm not pressing very hard, but what I am going to do is I'm going back and forth from left to right, and then I'm going to go up and down like this to make sure it's nicely blended. I'm doing the tree at the same time. Just making sure everything's really nicely blended together. I don't mind if some of the 6B pops over into the 2B area, that's okay. This is a dark scene, so we want to have it kind of creepy looking, so it should be nice and dark. Jack, are you okay? My dog is coughing. He's getting old. He's a hound dog. His name is Jack, just like Jack Skellington. I didn't name him. He was actually, I got him at a shelter. I'm just taking my my dark, where is it? Extra black again and going kind of near the edge here. Yeah, I got my dog at a shelter in 2015, and his name was Jack, so. They said he was 9 years old at that time, so that would make him 16 years old this year. But I don't know that he was that old when we got him. It's hard to tell. He's got so much energy. He acts like a puppy, but then sometimes I see him slowing down, you know. Kind of breaks my heart a little bit. He's my little hound dog. Just holding my page. I love using graphite pencils and ink together. I think it makes a nice combination. And just because it's black and white doesn't mean it can't be, you know, vibrant and beautiful. I think a lot of people shy away from using black and white because they think maybe they can't get the effect they want. But I mean, if you look at this, you have all sorts of values, all sorts of shading. I almost prefer black and white to color sometimes. I do have coloring pencils and I paint with color, but there's something about black and white that I just really love. I don't know how far down you can see here, so maybe I'll just, let's see, where's my finger? About here, right? Just below the roots. That's pretty much the bottom of the page for me. See what I mean? Like, it didn't matter if I went outside the lines because I'm just covering it all with graphite. Okay, so we've got our background color or shading. I'm going to take my 0.8 marker again, and I'm just going to add more scratches to those candles. I decided I want them to be a little darker. And I'm going to put a few little knots in these trees. They might look like eyes. All right, and maybe a little more detail in the pumpkin. Okay, I wonder if this pumpkin needs a little more detail too. Maybe he needs a darker stem, maybe a little longer stem, and a little more of a pronounced contour. I'm going to make his eyes darker. And the opening of his mouth darker. Okay. What else can I do to make this? Ah, yes, I want to do something with the ground. I think I'm going to take my 2B pencil and I'm just going to add some texture to the ground. Okay, and my 0.8, I'm going to put a little grass coming up. Just scratching some grass up here. And it's going to go in front of the pumpkin, but not in front of the cobweb there. Maybe I can do some grass scratching down here too. What the heck, huh? Let's just make this nice and grassy. Give it some texture so it's not too boring. That'll make the tree roots stand out a little bit, I think. I'm going to try not to get the grass in the tree roots or on Jack Skellington's legs or his shoes, although it probably won't show on his shoes because his shoes are black. Okay, not too bad. Now I wonder if I should put some clouds. I don't know, I tend to overdo it sometimes, so I don't want to overdo it. Maybe I should leave it as is. But for the candles, I'm just going to put a little dark in the flame here. And now I'm going to take my Tombow Mono eraser and I'm going to start doing a little bit of highlighting and erasing where I want things to be white, like his skeleton hands should be white. I should put this here. His face is okay. I like the face. This is okay. This hand got a little dark here. And the candles, well, let's do a little erasing there. Make sure there's no shading on the cobweb because I want that to show up well. All right. Now there's going to be a little, I have my larger mechanical eraser. There's a little glow around this pumpkin here. Maybe just on this side here. Or why don't I do it around the whole pumpkin? And I'm going to blend that. It's not going to look like that, but... And of course there's probably some glow around the candles. Okay. Let me take my soft foam blender here and just blend that a little so it's not looking like eraser marks. And I might go in again and do that again. Actually, you know what might work better is my large vinyl eraser. Okay. I'm just going to blend that very, very lightly. I don't want any marks, you know, to show that it looks like an eraser. Okay. I think that's pretty good. I think I'm pretty happy with that. I'm sorry I moved that, didn't I? What else can I do? I think I'm going to put some highlights into the ground here. Just some squigglies. I've got the large mechanical eraser here that it's called the Factus BM2. Just to give it a little bit of highlighting, that's all. I just want to show you what you can do with ink and graphite and erasers. It doesn't have to be all cartoonish, and you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be black and white. You can use many different colors, lots of shading, different values. Well, I'm pretty pleased with my Jack Skellington scene here. If you followed along, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. I'm pretty pleased. I like how it turned out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time on Rain Francis Art. Bye!